Thank you for being here. I know it might sound weird, so at the University of New South Wales in Australia, but I'm going to be telling you about the work we have been doing with CABANA and CABANAnet to build bioinformatics and knowledge exchange capacity in Latin America. Just as context, so I used to be based in Mexico for about 8 years, and I just moved recently to Australia for the last year, but I'm still collaborating closely with this cohort. So what is CABANAnet? So CABANAnet was previously known as CABANA. So this is capacity building for bioinformatics in Latin America. And its main goal was to strengthen bioinformatics capacity in the region. It's orchestrated by international consortiums of organizations in Latin America and the UK. And it was originally conceived through a Skype call between Marco Cristancho and Kat Brusberg. Kat is around. And they kind of thought, okay, we can maybe leverage this focus from the United Nations development goals and acquire some of this funding to build capacity in the Latin American region for bioinformatics. At the moment, it's open to participants from within and beyond our partner countries. So originally, when we were funded by GCRF from 2017 to 2022, we were limited to the partner countries that were already in the original proposal, and now we have more. We have the capacity to just include anyone we want, really. So I'm mentioning this in case you know anyone who might be interested in joining this effort. So right now we are funded by the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which provided $500,000, and that funding is ending soon. So if you know of any other foundations or opportunities we could leverage to continue this project, that would be very, very useful to us. So who is involved? So we have, originally we had 9 partner countries and several different institutions. I'm not gonna mention them all, but I might just mention the different countries. So Brazil, we have people in Chile, Peru, Argentina, Costa Rica, Colombia, Mexico, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. And of course our partners in the ABI, and now we have also partnered with Cybers in the United States. We don't have partners in Canada, so if anybody's interested as well. And very briefly, so what I think made this project very successful was its governance structure. So we had an executive group with a project coordinator, institutional leads, and a project manager that was specifically hired for this purpose. So they were responsible for keeping us on track with this project. And we, among the institutional leads, we had 1 per institution, and then hence per country, at least 1 or 2. And also, we had a very good independent advisory group, so an ethics representative, an agri-food representative, biodiversity representative, and every year we had a knowledge exchange meeting that was in a different country, and they would assess if we were actually achieving our goals and how we were doing in terms of our performance indicators, if we were actually training enough people, etc. So everything that we actually proposed to do originally. And for the work streams, we had several different aims, and I'm going to explain them better in the next slide. Yeah, there you go. So we had secondments. So during that time, we did 39 secondments from LATAM to EMBL in the UK, and also from different Latin American institutions. This sounds like it should be something that's already happening, but in fact, it's quite difficult. So having that partner, the partner in the UK and also the funding coming from the UK really helped us be able to do this exchange of people. So most secondments were between 3 to 6 months, the majority of 6 months. And that was one part of the project, but we also did train the trainer. So we trained over 120. Now it's, I think, about, I might be wrong, but I think it's about 200. After the second stage of Latin American science, which we train to deliver training in bioinformatics, and just provide the basics of how to provide training, Bloom's taxonomy, like just understanding cognitive models, etc. So then training could be more effective. We also did several workshops in many different areas in biodiversity and pathogen detection, agriculture, with over 100 participants in 28 workshops. And we also had an e-learning, we have an e-learning platform with 7 open access courses that are published in the CABANA F1000 collection. And on top of this, so when we got the funding, there wasn't a research component that was planned, but we actually were, well, the pandemic occurred and a lot of our training had to be delivered online. But that meant we had all this funding that we could leverage to do research. So we actually piped that down to research. So we had 7 research projects working on different aspects of biodiversity in Latin America. And so we have very high rates of training satisfaction for workshops. We really strive to make these workshops diverse and like have, usually we have 3 or 4 countries represented per workshop. We try to provide fellowships for students to travel to our workshops. And for the e-learning, these are available in Spanish and English, and they are primarily taught now by former CABANA secondees. And as I said, they are published in the CABANA F1000 collection. And for Train the Trainer, so we have 33 trainers that have participated in 36 workshops, and we deliver activities in Spanish, Portuguese, and English. We know that language can be a big barrier for a region, and the level of the barrier depends on how developed the community is in each country and how close to the United States you are as well. So for research secondments, the majority were to UK hosts, and we also had some within the region, as I mentioned, but our gender balance was pretty even. And I wanted to mention, so about 40% of our secondees have left the region, but they might come back later on. So many have moved on to do a PhD overseas, etc. So we are hoping that that number of moving overseas will be reduced. And I just want to delve a bit on some of the other outcomes, some more research-based outcomes. So we have 48 publications in the areas of interest, so biodiversity, communicable disease, food, and also others. So we have publications on education, on how to deliver training, on what this project has achieved. And you can read a much more detailed description in this paper that was published this year from our now lead, Rebecca Campos Sanchez, who is a former secondee from the project. And this is just a word cloud on the main topics that these publications delve on. And just to provide some basic statistics, so we were able to provide events in 10 countries in Latin America. And we actually had representatives from 15 countries, and this is a very high representation for Latin America. We have 33 countries in the region. And as you can see, most of these were delivered in person, although a good chunk were also delivered virtually, given the COVID-19 pandemic. And so in the future, what we really intend is to strengthen our pan-Latin American sustainable and diverse capacity building program for bioinformatics, as well as leverage our group of scientists and trainers to liaison and impact regional, economical, and political decisions involving science. So this is the government volatility in the region is much higher than in other areas of the world. So it's really important to keep advocating why is this important? Why do we need to support, for example, infrastructure to do bioinformatics in the region? And this is something that for many people from the global north might not be too aware. For example, if you're in Europe and you have EMBL, then this is a very, how can I say, like you might not even think about how difficult it can be to access good infrastructure if you're in another region of the world. And so for future outcomes from the Chan Zuckerberg, and this we're about halfway from this, so it's a lot less ambitious because the amount is less. We used to have £5 million for our program, and for these 2 years we have $500,000 US dollars. So we have had 12 secondments, trained over 20 scientists. We have trained 8 so far. And we are planning 6 workshops with over 150 participants. And we have 6 new projects that will be releasing data to LATAM publicly. So this is just a list of the projects. I'm not going to read it, but it's mostly related to microbiome, of soil microbiome, gut microbiome, finding tools for adaptation in different crops that are relevant to the region, and pathogen protection, also in, for example, in coffee, and also monitoring the circulation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And you can reach us through these channels, so I will leave this on for a little bit. So we have a website, but it's still not fully, like it hasn't been fully revamped, but we're working on it. But you can definitely write to us or even tweet at us or, well, X at us, I guess. And yeah, so thank you. So this is our, oh, sorry, I'll go back. There you go. So I'll give you a few minutes. But it has been a really enriching experience. And also, so for example, here, there's several people who kind of decided to continue this career in Latin America through attending one of our workshops or one of our events. So I think we have really made an impact, and people continue to make an impact through this initiative. And yeah, so thank you, and thank you to all the institutions. So this is what I was talking about. So this is the Latin American presence at ISMB, which is, and we are missing many people. And I just wanted to make two short ads. So if you want to liaison better with the community, you could attend this really fantastic meeting, the Guaranteed Gene Regulation and Functional Genomics meeting in Puerto Varas, Chile. So this is a really outstanding conference, and it's very, it's quite small, so you do get an opportunity to interact with all the attendees, and we always have exceptional international speakers. And the area is really quite beautiful. So it's near the Chilean Patagonia, and you should come. It's really nice. And also we have Jessit, who's organizing this ICB Latin America conference, who's going to be in Colombia in November. So if you would like to go to Colombia and join, like also interact with the community, I invite you to share this or attend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Selene. So we have time for some questions.
Hi, this is a great work, and thanks for presenting it. I'm just getting used to learn. I'm still learning a bit more about CABANA, but one of my questions is like, well, two questions kind of. First is, what do you think, apart from this project, what is needed to build capacity in LATAM, apart from having workshops? And related to workshops, and we have discussed that before for education, if you think there's a framework that can be applied to LATAM still with the infrastructure that we have at the moment.
Yeah, so one of the big issues we have is, I think that's what you're getting at, sustainability, like having sustained positions for the people we train. This is one of the biggest issues we have been discussing. It changes a lot depending on the country, and like some institutions do have these kind of research scientist positions, but many don't. So either you're a PI or you're a student, almost. So it can be difficult to sustain. So what we are trying to do now is think of new ways. So I know there is an initiative, at least in Mexico, to build a bioinformatics center, so then you can actually have that in place. And I have also spoken very passionately about having like independent infrastructure, such as I spoke with people from EMBL, but they said there were many. I mean, there is an EMBL Australia, for example, and it has been really difficult to maintain. And there used to be an EMBL in Argentina, if I'm not mistaken, like a little branch. But to me, having a separate like organization that has more, that does not depend on the government would be really good. So then we can actually exchange funds more easily and actually hire people independently. So to me, that would be a very useful thing. But of course, this is a very long-term plan. So yeah, definitely there is an issue on how do we retain the talent we train. But I think also like the more people you have that are aware of this, the better chances you have that you will get support to build one of these strategies. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so the other question was also, sorry for the time, related to, sorry. We can talk later.
Yeah, okay.
This is really, really great. Actually, you asked the question I was going to ask. So I know, was it Saturday Nielsen was talking about the work that he was doing in Brazil? Are you familiar with that?
I am not, but
I
definitely.
only mention that because you said you do some instruction in Portuguese. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if you partnered with other like organizations and I really hope you get more funding because this is really, really fun.
Yeah, so to me that's the avenue. So we should partner and have joint workshops, joint initiatives. We have done that with, for example, Metadocencia, which provides training in Spanish. So we have partnered with them, and we have partnered with several other different organizations. But I'm not aware of that particular one. But we can talk later, and then see if we can make a link. But yeah, definitely, we should try to sum up to keep this going.
So my question was related to the framework and trying to tackle bioinfo from the core, well, from the roots, rather than having workshops, having more of a framework that this is how bioinfo is supposed to be taught in universities with what we have right now in Latin America.
Yeah, so I think a pan-Latin American strategy for that, I mean, we could definitely suggest a framework, but because most of the education is driven by universities, I find it difficult that we can enforce a pan-Latin American framework for that. However, there are some initiatives that, like there is a master's in bioinformatics in Universidad de los Andes in Colombia. We have the bachelor in genomic sciences in Mexico. We have two different campuses that provide that bachelor's. So there are definitely initiatives, but they don't really share the framework. So I guess we could write like a paper on this and have a suggestion on how it should be taught. But I think that for implementation, you would need the backing of academics and universities, professors who provide this training.